Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the House of Worship Technology YouTube channel. I'm Matt McQueen, and this is another episode of Church Tech Tip Tuesday. Today, I want to talk about gain structure. The ideas that I'm going to talk about are going to come from this book. I've talked about it before on the channel. This book is James Wasm's book called Great Church Sound. If you haven't heard me mention this yet, or if you haven't heard of this book yet, there will be a link below in the description. You can go to that and check this book out. If you're a beginner and just getting into sound, I highly recommend checking out this book. And let me just say this first to you. James doesn't pay me to say this. I have talked to James on the telephone and over direct messenger on Twitter and through email, and he's a great dude. Love talking to him. Has such a big heart for the church and making sure that volunteers and church techs can really have great sounding church sound systems no matter what their skill level or what the type of gear is that they have in their church. So not paying me to say this. I do this of my own free will because I really believe in this product and really want to see people succeed also in trying to make sure that they have great church sound. So check out that book, and I really think that it could help you, whether you're a new volunteer or maybe even a volunteer that has some experience and you're looking to take it to the next level, or maybe you're a guy that's been around for a while and you're looking for a good way to train some of your team members and take everybody along to the next level. This is a great resource. Today, what we're going to talk about is gain structure. Gain structure is really important because when it comes to our mixes and comes to getting our mixes to sound the best that they can, gain structure is, in a sense, the foundation. You know, I guess you could make an argument for it, the gear being the foundation, but as far as the actual act of mixing, gain structure is really the starting point. And there are two reasons that I want to talk about this today. First of all, and this is the part that came from reading through and looking through James's book, is that if you start with a really low signal, your input gain or your trim is really low on your mixer, and then you're trying to make that up down the line by either pushing the fader up really high, or maybe you have a digital mixer and you're using a digital gain somewhere else, like the makeup gain or the output gain on a compressor, but you have that really low signal that's really close to the noise floor of the mixer. What's going to happen is that when you try to add that signal later on down the line, because of improper gain structure, you're going to end up bringing up not only the level that you're trying to bring up, but you're going to bring up the noise with it because of how close it is to the noise floor. And that can be a bad thing. That can make for, a dirty sounding mix, or a mix where you can hear the keyboard buzzing the entire time, and you don't want to do that. Second, maybe you've had this experience. When I started mixing, if you can call it that, years ago, and was learning on the 24-channel Carvin mixer that my church had at that point, I was always frustrated on a Sunday morning because it seemed like that everything was loud, and when you're just learning, sometimes it feels frantic, like you're just trying to get your head above water, and it's already loud, but nothing is really making a difference, and you're bringing a fader up, and maybe it's sitting at minus 50 or minus 40, and you touch it just a little bit, and now it's too loud. And so then you touch it just a little bit to bring it back down, and now it's too quiet. Well, this is probably improper gain structure. And, some of you guys are already going to know this, but for the guys that don't, when you're looking at a fader and you're seeing all these numbers that are going up, and it's minus 60, minus 50, minus 40, minus 30, minus 20, minus 10, all the way up to 0. When you're talking about getting proper gain structure, and part of this is trial and error, part of this is, doing it and just getting a good grip on what things are supposed to sound like in your room, start with that channel fader all the way up to 0, okay? And now we're taking into some considerations here that your speakers and your amps are set, and everything else that's down the line is kind of set for the room, okay? So there are other things, there's a lot more things that play into gain structure, and we're going to talk about this for the next couple of weeks because it's an important topic, but assuming that all of that is set correctly, where do you start with your mix? You're going to start with the gain all the way down, the trim input at the top all the way down, and you're going to bring that fader up to 0, all right? And then you're gonna bring the gain up at the top of the channel strip until you start to hear it. And here's what I want you to get from this is just the reason why you do it that way. Because starting at 0 and being able to push that fader up to plus 10, or bring it all the way down to minus 10. That is the biggest area on that mixer, on that fader, where you have the most adjustment, plus 10 dB, minus 10 dB over the greatest distance. After that, you start to get down to minus 20 is half the distance of going from 0 to minus 10. And then minus 30 is half the distance of going from minus 10 to minus 20. And it gets smaller and smaller and tighter, so you have more accuracy. You have more distance that you can move the fader. It has farther length to travel over that throw of the fader, and that is going to be able to help you to get a better sounding mix and find the sweet spot and be able to do those sweet fader rides that can kind of allow you to put your fingers on the faders of the mixer and almost play it like a musical instrument. And that is when mixing starts to get really, really fun. So next week we're going to get into some practical ways that we can use gain structure and just showing how to do it properly and everything that we need to check going down the line. But today I wanted to talk about 2 reasons why gain structure is so important. And first is just to consider that noise floor, and second is just to make sure that we're getting the most use, the most bang for our buck from that fader throw. And so guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, if I was unclear about anything, leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, and I will see you next Tuesday.